Hi, everyone. It's Gabriela Barrero with There Is No Plan B LinkedIn Live series. And today we are sitting down with the one and only Deborah Jones, the CEO and founder of Jones Foston Consulting. And she is a fractional CFO. Today, we're going to be walking through the tips that you need to have in your pocket before we end the year and to start 2026
Yes.
even better than you started 2024 or 2025. Deborah, thank you so much for joining us. Tell us a little bit of your background and how you founded Jones Boston Consulting.
Thank you. Thank you for having me this morning. So I founded Jones Boston Consulting in 2020 after a 30-year run in corporate America. So during the pandemic, our companies were cutting back and I was cut from a position that I had held for 21 years. However, over the years, I kind of thought about what do I eventually want to do? And I had a plan in my head of what my consulting company would look like. So, literally 7 days after my departure, I started this company. Things were slow during the pandemic because we were kind of in lockdown at the time, but I started to plan and started to do some small things and help people. Ended up with my first client during the pandemic. They didn't have a financial staff, or they had a very small financial staff, I should say, and didn't have financial leadership. And so this is where I started to work as a fractional CFO. And I found it to be an interesting, opportunity to work with different companies, learn different things. It's always new. You're always like a new hire. You're always coming in to work on some new project. So I really do enjoy the fractional CFO work.
And Deborah, as you meet people in networking and at events, and we talk again about fractional CFO, accounting, what kind of common threads do you see between what entrepreneurs should be looking at
Mhm.
when it comes to year end, when it comes to even their monthly financials, and maybe just a gap of them not even knowing these are numbers they should be focusing on?
Well, one of the things that I like to frame, our financials in is that financial excellence is a journey. And you can see that in our tagline that we like to be partners in your journey. So I think you should see your financials as like a beacon. Like if you were in a ship and there was a lighthouse, and every lighthouse is, there for your safety. You can know whether you need to stop or you need to continue on. And I think that's the way you should look at your financials. So the first thing I think that leaders are not looking at enough is cash flow. There's a huge profit, focus. How much money are we making? But you record your income and your expenses in a different way than you do the receipt of cash and the outflow of cash. So the first thing I would do is pay attention to cash flow and forecast. Most leaders don't forecast cash flow. And then they're making money, but they don't have the cash in hand and they struggle a little bit. I think another thing is looking at margin and looking at profit by whatever your services and products are, figuring out where you're really making money and where you're just kind of doing the work. And I don't think companies pay attention to that. If you have five services and one of them isn't making a profit, do you continue to do it? Or do you try to build it? I think you've got to start focusing on what are the lighthouse, messages that you're seeing along the way. Another thing I would say, you should really look at your client concentration risk. If you have 35% of your profit in one client, that's a huge risk. And I definitely don't think companies look at that. It's like I'm making this great profit, but what if that client chooses another company next year? What if that client goes out of business? What if they just, decide they want to do something different? then you're at a risk of losing 35% of your income and profit. So I would pay attention to client concentration risk. I'd also pay attention to expense trends. Every company should have a budget. Are you spending on budget? And if not, why? And I'm not saying that you can't veer from your budget. You may get a huge client that requires additional expenses. You need to reforecast, but you need to make sure that you're following that plan that you set up. Your budget is like a map. It is quantifying your goals for the year, and you're trying to stay on course. So I would pay attention to spending, and I'd also pay attention to revenue, to be honest. If you're forecasting $1 million, but you only make $10,000, your budget is not accurate. But if you're off by five or $10,000, you can reforecast and clean that up. But pay attention to disparities in the budget as well. I think another big thing is that leaders don't pay attention to the compensation if you're a solopreneur. Are you compensating yourself at a fair and reasonable salary? I've had conversations with people about their businesses and they're not even paying themselves. You're working, you have to value your input into your company. And I think that has to be done. You have to be HR for a little while. Do a salary comp. Maybe you can't pay yourself what the market would pay you, but you should be paying yourself a reasonable salary for your company. So I think those are some of the things I would ask a company to pay attention to. And I think that a leader could feel kind of alone in that situation. And that's where fractional CFO services come in. We come in and help you see the messages in your numbers. And I think that's a consideration too. Do I have the right financial support? So that may be for looking forward, but when you're evaluating, if you're getting into roadblocks, you need to look at your resources. Do you have the right resources to succeed? So that's what I would have them look at.
That is amazing,
Mhm.
Deborah. And you touched on so many points that I think that we may have become too familiar with in
Mhm.
entrepreneurship and small business ownership, which is the commonality of not getting paid enough,
Right,
right? I think that
right,
we've created this messaging of, well, I know, and so I was just talking to someone the other day and they said, well, I know for the first 5 years, it's going to be hard for me to make anything. And I had to stop them right there. And I said, well, who told you that? And
right,
they were like, well, like that's just what they say in the first 5 years. I'm like, but just because that's what one study said doesn't mean that that's what you then need to base your business around. The fact
right.
that, oh, well, I'm just not going to make anything. I'm not going to make ends meet. And now you see a lot of families that are
Mhm.
struggling
Absolutely.
due to this desire to give back, due to this desire to create a business.
Right.
What do you think for that person that's like, well, Deborah, I didn't think I was going to make any money. What do you mean I should give myself a salary, right? What do you mean it should just be a little bit? What would you say to that person?
Well, I think you need to examine your why. Why did you step into entrepreneurship? Were you trying to recreate the experience that you had working for someone else, where you get a salary, you get benefits, but allowing you to control the ship? Or are you looking to contribute to your community? Are you looking to do something philanthropic as opposed to being an entrepreneur? Sometimes I think people blur the lines there. I spoke to an entrepreneur who has probably had her business for quite some time, and she was giving away more services than she was charging for and is kind of course correcting now. I think she really wanted to live a philanthropic life. She wasn't really looking to create a career that she controlled and build a business. She didn't have a strategic plan of where is this business going. She just was passionate about what she was doing and how others could benefit from it. So I think you really need to take a step back and figure out why you're an entrepreneur.
I don't think I've ever heard someone put it so eloquently. I think there may be people in your life that will tell you to, hey, right, grow up, realize that this isn't
Hmm.
working.
Right,
But for many, it's realizing you're here to make a profit. You're here to make
right.
money. You're here to
Hmm.
make, you can make an impact and make a profit and live
Yes,
a good life. But
yes,
there has to be balance.
right.
And I love that you added in client mix, right?
Hmm.
And understanding what percentage of your income is coming from which services. And
Right.
also, which services are even making you any money. And it brings me back to the matrix. I forget
Hmm.
exactly what the matrix is called, that has, right, like the cash cow and
Yes.
right, the different options in it. That, do you think that if perhaps more entrepreneurs had access to business education, accounting, financial education, they would be able to be more successful in building their businesses?
Absolutely. I think that, like, I feel like I'm a lifelong learner. And I think that education helps to build confidence. It helps you to understand what you're doing, and so that you can set the path that you want to take. So I do believe that education is really important. Learning about your financial statements, learning what they actually mean so that you can use them to make good decisions. For instance, I'm sure there's somebody listening who gave no thought to cash flow. Cash flow analysis allows you to determine, do I have enough cash on hand to pay bills in the future? Do I have enough cash on hand to invest back into this business? Do I need to maybe borrow money short term so that I can pay payroll next week? Or do I have enough cash that I can go and invest in some type of investment fund that I can pay out a retirement fund? If you understand cash flow, then you understand how to use it. And so I think they're just areas that people don't learn about.
Mm-hmm. And for those that are sitting there and understanding cash flow, looking to understand it,
Hmm.
what are some, do you have any almost like homework? Is there any homework we could give the listeners of, like, hey, I would look at this, I
Hmm.
would do this. Like if they're like, you know what, Deborah, I love this. I've never considered having someone come on at this level, but I really am
Hmm.
thinking about it. What is some of the homework someone should do before they hire someone like you?
So what I would do, just on a small scale, I would go back maybe 3 months and chart out every week what I spent money on and where my money came from, sources of income and expenditures, and chart it out in an Excel schedule. And then say for the next month, I plan to do the following in each category so that you know how much money you're going to have to spend in the next month. And to continue to do this, it would be ideal if at the beginning of the year you start out with a 12-month cash flow schedule where you forecasted your cash flow. You'll have to go in and adjust it, and you may have to adjust it every week or every month, but you'll have to go in and adjust it. But I think it's necessary to plan in that way.
And that already is going to give them a level of confidence and
Mhm.
empowerment that I can do that. It does make
Right.
sense. And not
Hmm.
leaving things to the whim. Not,
Right.
oh well, oh, this is, I'm they should know that cash isn't coming in way in advance,
Right.
right?
Right.
Spotting the gaps
Hmm.
so they can fill them.
Right. I mean, this is what you would do in your personal life. If you know you have events to go to or you have activities that you need to go to, you plan for them. It's the same thing. I plan to spend X amount of money on these things, and this is what my income is going to be, and what's available. And so It's the same activity we do in our heads when we walk in a store.
Absolutely. And it's smart for us to do this so that way our clients can start doing it too.
Right.
Because having clients that
Right.
are sporadic or you feel
Hmm.
like they pay you whenever they can, right? I feel like
Right.
it's just a cycle that continues. And there
It
are so
is.
many
Hmm.
entrepreneurs and small business owners that need to break the cycle.
Right. Right.
I love it. I love it, Deborah. And when it comes to the offer that you're doing, someone that's listening to this and
Yes.
they're like,
Hmm.
Deborah, I'm really seriously looking to hire for this position, whether
Hmm.
before the year ends or in 2026. What is the
Right.
offer that you have for them?
So the offer that I have is a year-end financial clarity session. It is a 60-minute one-on-one strategy session. We'll review your financials, your budget, or go over your audit prep checklist and create a custom roadmap for closing the year strong and setting yourself up for success in Q1 of next year. You'll leave with some tools and templates, and we'll have a chance to really just talk about strategy and your Q1, where are you trying to go and create a roadmap for that. And that offer for our podcasters will be 497.
Perfect. Anyone listening to this and you're like, Deborah, I need this. I need your help. We're going to link her Instagram, her website, her LinkedIn. That way you can stay super active on what she's doing. Follow her, see her upcoming speaking engagements, see her live
Hmm.
and in the flesh and bones so you can ask her some questions. Now, you said before about the pillar of
Hmm.
Jones, excuse me, Foston Consulting and how it was around, was it faith, community, and what else was it? As we wrap up today, can you share that a little bit with us? What kind of some of the pillars of Jones Foston Consulting is?
So in our last conversation, we talked about, my family a little bit, and just our unofficial branding is that we believe in faith, family, and community. And I think some of those things filter into my business. You know, in terms of faith, I believe in integrity. I bring integrity to every project. I also believe in community and partnering. Partnering is the basis of our organization. We're not coming in to take over your company. We're coming in to be a partner with you on your journey, to really help you where you need the help. So I think that my family foundation, you can see it reaching in everything that I do because that's just who I am. And so that's what I bring to you. Integrity and honesty is very important, and sharing and partnering. And even like the education side of what I do is because I like to see people prosper. And if you share information, it's not stealing anything from me. It's helping you to move forward, and we move forward together. So,
Thank you so much, Deborah, for joining us.
thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I'm so excited for our continuous collaboration and to see all that you're going to do
Absolutely.
in 2026.